Welcome to Talkn to Taylor. I'm your host, Taylor Dragovich, an AMP Media Productions producer. You can catch me here every Monday at 11 a.m. I'll be interviewing guests, reviewing movies, talking about pop culture, and so much more every week. Now, time for the show. Hello, and welcome back to Talkn to Taylor. This week was, gonna be honest, a difficult week to think of a topic. My plan was my sister Megan and I, my youngest sister, who is 12. I have two younger sisters. But my plan was to record a show at home with her, and we were going to be talking about a show that we really like, but it didn't end up working out. So I recorded it with her and my cousin, and I'm going to edit that later and air that another time. But for today, I was thinking really hard, what can I talk about? What do I know a lot about that I could feel comfortable talking about for 30 minutes? And I thought of the idea of, well, I am an older sibling. I am the oldest of 5, and I have always thought, I could be a little biased here, but I always thought that being the oldest was the hardest. And I haven't been a younger sibling before, but there's so many things that I don't like. I just don't get how people could argue hard enough to the point where you could say that being a younger sibling is harder. I do understand some things, but today I'm going to be talking about my side, being the oldest, why I think it's more difficult. I became an older sibling at 1.5. So I don't really have like a story before I was older, but when I was only child or anything. My sister's 1.5 years younger than me. So I just don't remember a time without having siblings. And then my other brother was born when I was 7. I remember when my 3 youngest siblings were born, more or less. It's a little I was really young, so I don't remember it fully, but I do remember it. I remember going to the hospital, holding them and stuff like that. So I've been an older sibling basically my whole life. So I'm going to talk about how I think it has been difficult. My dad is the oldest. My mom is the youngest. So I get to hear whenever I say that I think being the oldest is the hardest. Sometimes my dad will be like, yeah, that's right. And then my mom will be like, well, actually, being the youngest is also difficult. So then I'm like, dang it. She just ruined what I was saying. So, yeah, I get to hear both sides from my parents. They both have 3 siblings. So my mom is the youngest of 4, and my dad's the oldest of 4, and I'm the oldest of 5. So just great experiences. So my first thing that I thought of that I always end up coming back to in my head is one thing that's hard about being the oldest that I've experienced is I have to go through all of the challenges of being the oldest and not learning from an older sibling first, and then my siblings always get to learn from my mistakes. I mean, of course they're gonna make their own mistakes along the way, which they're supposed to, that's life, but they get to learn from a lot of my big mistakes. I'm kind of the guinea pig in the family, which isn't fun, if you were wondering. So it sucks a lot. And I, since my sister and I are 1.5 years apart, it's not a huge age gap. I always got all the negative stuff of being the oldest. I had to go into middle school first and figure that out. I had to go into school in general first. I had to go into high school first. I had to do all this stuff first while she got to kind of learn from what I was doing. But then we would also get the good stuff, like getting a phone, getting a little more freedom. We would get that kind of stuff at the same time because there wasn't a big age gap. So that was super annoying. one thing that I can remember from like way back when I was a kid, before we moved to the house that we live in now, we lived in this neighborhood where there was like a loop, like a circle, and it was like, I don't know, like maybe a quarter of a mile, maybe, probably less than that. And I would like beg my mom, because I thought this was like what freedom was. I was like, oh, can I please like ride my scooter around the little block thing, the little circle? And she'd be like, no, like I don't want you being out of my sight for that long. Even though it was like a gated community and everything, like it probably wasn't that big of a deal, but it was understandable. And I was like, oh, please, like let me go around. And I was like, I think I was turning 10 or 9 or something. I was like, when I turn 9 and I'm like super old then, can I please ride my scooter around the block? And my mom probably doesn't even remember this, but I remember it because it's burned in my brain. And I was like, can I please ride my scooter around the block? And she was like, fine, like when you turn 9, probably just to get me to shut up. And so finally when I turned 9 or whatever age I was turning, I finally like rode my scooter around the block for the first time. And, you know, I pictured it like it would be like in the movies, like I suddenly like make all these friends because I have all this freedom, like stuff that wouldn't happen. But I was like, finally, I get to ride my scooter around the block. Next day, my sister pulls up. She's a year and a half younger than me, riding her scooter around the block. I'm like, yo, what the heck is this? She is not 9 years old yet, so she doesn't get to ride her scooter on the block. And my mom's like, it's not that big of a deal. It was a big deal to me, okay? And then also iPhones. I got my first iPhone. I got my first phone like 5th grade or something, but I didn't really use it. My sister and I shared it. That's another thing. I always had to share with my sister, but that's just having siblings in general. But I got my first iPhone, my little iPhone 4, when I was in the middle of 7th grade, because I got it Christmas of 7th grade. So middle of 7th grade, I got my first iPhone. My sister also got her iPhone that same time, because it was like whatever plan it was on. She got hers in 5th grade. And I was like, this is not fair at all. She should have to wait another 2 years. But that's just how it is. My dad was like, it's not really about the ages. It's just because I got this deal on the phones or whatever. But that always annoyed me. And I always talk about that. And my parents are just like, whatever, Taylor. But it's still really annoying being the oldest and having like your siblings, stuff that you have to like wait for. And then they kind of get, you know, stuff at the same time after you feel like you've been waiting for it. And they don't even like care about it as much. And like I was saying, you have to like wait, you have to experience all this stuff first, like all this difficult stuff. Like you have to learn to drive first. You have to go to high school first. You have to go to college first. You're supposed to be setting good examples along the way. And so I had to learn to drive first. And, learning to drive with my dad was, I learned with my mom too. My mom was kind of the one that would like freak out more, like, oh my gosh, press the brakes, hurry up. My dad would do that like sometimes too, but my dad's more laid back. So he would be like laughing in the passenger seat, like, oh, haha, you're gonna like fail your driver's test if you do that. And I'm like, it's not funny, like crying in the passenger seat. I mean, I could be making this up, but I felt like my sister got it so much easier when she was learning to drive. I feel like my dad was so much more laid back because he had already taught me how to drive. So I was just the guinea pig sitting there like, all right, this isn't really fair because I had never learned how to drive and they were freaking out because they had never taught anyone how to drive. And then she just gets it easier just because I had already gone through that. So that's really annoying. And then, going to high school and college first, she gets to ask me, like, oh, what's it like? Like, and then I get to show her around the school. I get to tell her how things work. Me, I had to figure that all out for myself. So that's not a great experience. It comes with a lot of challenges. But yeah, being the guinea pig in the family, I feel like it doesn't get appreciated enough. And it's really annoying because... yeah, my parents say that to me all the time. Oh, you're the guinea pig child. Ha ha. And I'm like, it's not funny for me. but whatever. But yeah, I always have to experience everything first. Like when I was graduating, my parents like didn't know, where they were supposed to sit, where they were supposed to go, what they were supposed to do, like to find a good spot, like a good seat to watch me graduate. And I remember after, my dad was like, "Oh, now we know where to go for Alyssa's graduation. You were just the guinea pig." And I'm like, well, that makes me sound less important, but I know he didn't mean it like that. But I mean, it ended up, not working out for my sister anyway, because she was class of 2020, which means she didn't get a graduation. So I mean, that kind of backfired, which is kind of funny. I mean, now that I think about it, because I just thought of that just now. I didn't really connect that in my brain till I just said that. But yeah, being the guinea pig and then having people like, so you're like, "Oh yeah, you're just the guinea pig," as if it's like, "Oh, you're just the oldest, so we're just learning from you, and then when the other kids come along, then we'll be able to do it right." And like, I know that's not how they mean it, but it's how it feels sometimes, so it's really annoying. But yeah, that's just what comes with being the oldest, and I hate it. It's not fun. I know Val over here is the oldest. Dawn here just said she was the oldest. It's not a good time a lot of the times. And it just feels like you're always getting the short end of the stick, and it sucks. But there are advantages, I guess, of being the oldest. It's hard to think of them when, like, you feel like you're always getting, like I said, the short end of the stick. I mean, I guess you do get, like, the good thing about experiencing things first is, like, it's more exciting for you, like it's more exciting that I'm graduating because I'm the first one to graduate. And then when my sister graduates, it's maybe not as exciting because, I already did it. But I don't feel like that's usually the case, especially depending on the family. But, yeah. And what else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, some disadvantages that I've had with being the oldest is, like, I am the oldest, so I always assumed, like, oh, I'm going to be the first one going away to college, and it's going to be really fun. And I always imagined, in, like, early high school and middle school and elementary school, everyone imagines from seeing all the movies and everything that you're going to, like, go away to college and have this great college experience and make so many friends. Well, I didn't end up going away to college. I commute to college, which is a whole other thing. Commuting is not fun either. But I commute to college. I live 30 minutes away from here. And so I wasn't the first kid to go away to school. So it was kind of like, it wasn't really a big change for my parents to have me going from high school to college, other than me driving further and stuff. So, like, having their first kid go to college wasn't, like, a ginormous deal because, I wasn't, like, moving out. I was still gonna be in the same place. I had to still share a room with my sister. And then my sister, Alyssa, she went away. And this is her first year of college. She's a freshman in college. So she finally went away to college, and so now she is getting to experience all the good things about college and all the fun, having friends and all that, and then I'm stuck here basically doing the same thing as I did in high school, except all my friends have gone away to college, and it's just not what I, like, really wanted and expected from college. And it's like, I imagined, like, since I'm the oldest, I'm going to go away to college first, and then I'm going to come back and tell my siblings how fun it is, and that, oh, you'll get there one day. But that's not really how it worked out for me, because I ended up staying home for college, and then my sister gets to come back and tell me all the fun things. So it's kind of like she's the oldest. So she, like I was saying, she gets all the good things about being younger, and she also gets to kind of be the oldest in certain ways, because she's not that much younger than me. So it's not a fun time over here. I feel like, yeah, like I was saying, I just always feel like things always happen to me that way. But But it's fine. It's just the way it was meant to be for me, I guess. I'm sure there'll be other things in the future that I'll be like, okay, this is a good thing that I stayed in, like, here and stuff. I know that there's a lot of stuff about college that my sister doesn't like, but I feel like for the most part she likes it. And then since this is my parents' first kid going away, they kind of treat her like, oh, she's our baby. Like, they get so excited, which I understand. They get really excited when she, like, comes back and when we go visit her. But then all my other siblings are sitting there like, you know, why does she get special treatment? Which I understand why she does, because she doesn't live with us and they don't see her all the time. But, like, just this weekend, I was visiting her, and me and my siblings and my parents, we all drove up the 3.5 hours to go see my sister. We went and saw her softball games and stuff like that. And, you know, one of the advantages of being older, my voice just cracked so bad. One of the advantages of being older but living with my parents is that, you know, free rent, and I get my parents to buy me food. I don't have to pay for food most of the time. But then when my parents go up there, I mean, she still has to pay for rent and, like, all that kind of stuff. But she's getting a scholarship also. She doesn't have to, like, pay for tuition and all that, which I have to pay for. So anything that she is paying in rent, I'm sure I'm paying about the same amount in tuition. And so there's that. And then, you know, you would think, oh, she has to pay for food. But then when my parents go up there, they just buy her food and stuff, and I'm like, what the heck? She's supposed to be buying her own food. She lives on her own. Let her deal with the stuff of being on her own. But yeah, then she gets all these advantages, and I'm like, this isn't how it was supposed to be. This isn't what I wanted it to be. This isn't what I imagined. But that's how it is. So I'm gonna go commercial. I keep getting almost off topic. But when we come back, I think I'm going to talk a little more about, you know, other topics and stop ranting about being the oldest. So we'll be back.
Stone Creamery. At Cold Stone, we make our ice cream fresh every single day in store. We have over 20 different ice cream base flavors and over 30 different mix-ins to choose from. We also have plenty of signature creations if you don't want to go ahead and choose your own. To end your creation, you can put it in one of our freshly made waffles. We have ice cream cakes, ice cream sandwiches, milkshakes, smoothies, banana splits, sundaes, and so many other things for you to come check out and enjoy. We are the official ice cream store of the Brooklyn Cafe. Hope to see you soon, and remember, it's always a great day for ice cream.
Thanks for tuning into Talkn to Taylor, coming to you every Monday at 11 a.m. Now back to the show. We're back. So, yeah, that's my experience being the oldest. I'm sure there's a lot of disadvantages about being the youngest. I know my mom always told me that what sucked about being the youngest is, for her, no one was as excited when she graduated or when she got married or when she, like, I don't know if they were, I'm pretty sure they were still excited as when she had kids, I would think. But yeah, stuff like that, I'm sure sucks. And when all her siblings moved out and she was the last one. But I'll ask my brother Brandon about that in the future, if that is his experience. But he is 10 years younger than me, so he's got a ways to go before I can really ask him questions like that. But anyway, I was going to also talk about what it's like being a commuter student. So I commute to FAU. It's 30 minutes. On a good day, it's 30 minutes. It's more like 45 usually. And people are always like, oh, you're so lucky. Like, you get to pay no rent. And, you know, you save so much money because you're not paying for housing. Which, that is true. It is great stuff. But there's a lot of things that suck about it. And I hate to, you know, just sit here and just be like, my life is horrible because I'm the oldest and I commute to school and all this stuff in my life sucks. But that's just how it is today. Stuff that is good about being a commuter student, like I said, you save a lot of money living with your parents, and hopefully they don't make you pay rent like my parents. I do pay for my car and I pay for my gas, which gas adds up. And right now, gas prices have been going up, and that sucks for me a lot because I drive a lot. But yeah, I mean, Corona happening wasn't. I mean, it could have been worse for me personally, just because I didn't have to drive to school now, so that was like a good thing for me. Because I was driving to Davie 2 days a week when Corona happened. I was driving to Davie 2 days a week and Boca 1 day a week, I believe, at the time that Corona happened, and I was just like so worn out from driving that much. Which might sound a little dramatic, but driving that much takes a toll. It was an hour to the Davie campus and an hour back every day, and then 4-hour class in between. It was just a lot of driving. It would make me so tired. And I remember like I would go to like my church group and stuff, and I'd be like, guys, like driving this much is just like making me lose my mind. And then Corona happened, so I was like, okay, maybe this isn't that bad. I mean, of course there are horrible things that happened with it, but for me personally, I'm like, okay, maybe this is a good thing. And there are other bad things that like I finally felt like I was gonna start making friends at school, and like because I haven't made, that's another thing about being a community student, it's really hard to make friends when you're one of the only ones that isn't living on campus. So I haven't really made really many friends at all from being at FAU for 3 years. But yeah, I felt like I was gonna finally make friends, and then it didn't happen because Corona happened and they shut everything down. So it's a little back and forth with the whole Corona situation. So yeah, being a commuter student and having Corona happen, it was all right because I didn't have to drive and everything was online. And I was like, maybe this isn't that bad. But then Corona happened for longer than I was expecting. So that sucked. And now I just like want to know, like, am I going to have to drive to school or not? And they're still not really 100% positive. Like everything's subject to change. So for people that live on campus, I'm sure it's like, you know, if I have to end up walking to class, it's not a huge deal because it's probably like a 5-minute walk. But for me, it's like, do I have to make that 30 to 45-minute drive? Like that's pretty big deal. So that's like, I have to factor in all these other things in my head if I'm signing up for on-campus classes. It's not just like, oh, if I sign up for this 8 a.m. class, then I'll have to wake up at 7:30 and then walk to class. For me, I have to wake up at around 6 something. I have to leave at like 7. And then I hope that I make it there on time. That's how it is for me. So it's a big deal with whether it's on campus or not for me, because I need to know like how much I'm going to be driving to campus, stuff like that. So there's good and bad things that have happened with Corona and being a commuter student. But overall, I was glad when it first happened because I was taking film theory, and that class sucked. I did not like that class, and taking that class online was way easier. So there were good things that came with Corona happening at the time that it did for me. But yeah, being a commuter, it's a lot of driving. I've listened to a lot of music, a lot of podcasts. When I drove to Davie, I would listen to podcasts like every day, and that I almost got excited to listen to my podcast. So even though I was using a lot of gas, and it was just like sometimes I'd be so hungry and I'd be like, I just want to be home already and like eat dinner. But that was a good thing, is I would listen to podcasts a lot. I would make my playlists a lot. I mostly listen to like the same music, but I still get hyped to listen to it and like jam out. So that's the somewhat good things about driving a lot. But I feel like I was going to say something else about being a commuter student, because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but now I'm blanking. But another thing that I could talk about is I like to talk about movie reviews a lot on here, or like talk about movies because I like movies a lot. A movie that I recently watched was The Shawshank Redemption. No, I had never seen it before. This was my first time seeing it. A lot of people have recommended that movie on TikTok or like other like things. I asked people like, what movie should I watch, and people have said that movie before, and it was not what I was expecting. I didn't know what I was expecting. Like, I didn't know what the movie was about really at all, but it was a good movie. It made me wonder, like, has Morgan Freeman ever been young? Because I expected like him to be way younger than he was. Apparently, I guess he was in like his 50s or 60s in that movie, and now he's in his 80s. So I'm like, that's crazy. I feel like he's never been young, but it was a good movie. I really liked it. It was very long, like drawn on sometimes, because you're like, yo, are they just gonna be in prison the whole time? And then, spoiler alert, that he escapes from prison at the end, and it just, I didn't expect that. And like how it happened, I don't know if it's 100% realistic, but I feel like it could have been realistic, with the way that it turned out at the prison. So that was a good movie I watched. Also, my friend Noah, it is his birthday today. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. So happy birthday, Noah. And it was my friend Enrica. She's been on the show before. My friend Enrica from Italy. Her birthday was on the 18th, so a few days ago. And I need to FaceTime her soon because I need to know how she's doing, and how her birthday was. And I know she recently got the first dose of the vaccine, but I know she recently had something happened in her family, but I'm not sure what happened. But she had to go get tested and everything. So gotta FaceTime her and ask how she's doing and see if she can get that second dose, because she is a kind of like a teacher for her job. So yeah, it's their birthdays. I wanted to have my friend Noah on the show, but he said no, because I guess he's busy like celebrating his birthday or whatever. So maybe he can be on the show another day. But yeah, so he sucks for that, but I want to give him his present. He guessed the present that I got him, and I'm not going to say if it's right or wrong, but he would just have to keep wondering. I don't know if he's going to even be watching right now, but he will have to wait. I probably won't see him for another week or so, but yeah. And today I am debating whether or not I want to buy some more stocks or not. So maybe I'll do a show on that, some stocks, cause and maybe I'll explain how they work, because I found out recently that a lot of people don't know how stocks work, and I think I know how they work. I could be wrong, and I don't really want to spread false information, so I probably should do some research. But I'm pretty sure I know how they work. I bought some American Airlines stock recently, and I'm waiting for it to shoot up a lot. So maybe I'll do a whole show on that, because stocks do interest me. I'm not a business major or anything, but and I don't really want to be, because I feel like that'd be a lot of math, a lot of stuff that I'm not interested in. But yeah, stocks interest me a lot, and I bought some AMC stock. I've talked about that before, and made a little money off that. So after getting a lot of good luck the first time I bought stocks, now I'm like addicted to it, kind of. I'm like checking them every day, like, oh my gosh, did my stock go up like a penny? So maybe I'll do a show about that in the future. This was kind of a random show today. I will hopefully have more stuff planned out. I literally thought of this idea as I was driving here today, so that's why it's a little all over the place today. But I hope you enjoyed the show today. And next week, I'll be a little more planned out. So I'll see you next week. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed talking to Taylor just as much as I did. Make sure you come back next week for a brand new show with me, Taylor. Follow me on social media at Talkn to Taylor on Instagram and Facebook. Also, find me on the Anchor app if you just feel like listening to my show. See you next time.